Hello viewers, here's a mindful man reading another chapter from the Eden Plot. He put down his pen and took up the sheet of paper. Leaning back in the chair, he read it over carefully. Was it too sycophantic? Did it sound as if he were hiding something? Would the bishop bother with it at all? Better get Stepney to type it and then look at it again tomorrow. It was amazing how phrases that seemed to hit the mark today looked too silly for words the following day. Write what you like, a friend had once advised him, but don't post till tomorrow. Reaching for the phone, he tapped the number. Stepney, could you type a letter for me? Of course, I'll be right in. It's nearly lunchtime. Do you want tea or anything? No thanks, I'm all right. When Stepney had taken the draft away with her, he got out his sandwiches and turned on the radio. Relax, it's classic FM, he heard, in that insistent way. You choose the classics. Suddenly there was a caller making his request. Hello, this is Barry from Bootle. Could you play the theme music for the film The Magnificent Seven for our mum? She'd rather down at the moment and it would give her a lift. I've got 3 sisters and 3 brothers and she thinks we're all magnificent. I know it's not really classical music, but it's a classic anyway, don't you think? If you could, please, thanks. The stirring music rang out in the room and moved Latimer to think of action and of the defeat of evil and corruption. A little later he left the office to go for a walk. Coming out of the main entrance he passed the magnolia tree and made for the cathedral. The trees in the park to his right were still flecked with the damp green mould of winter that would soon give way to the green of spring. For a moment he thought of their branches twisting and turning and symbolizing the jagged interrelationships of men and women. Putting aside these pagan thoughts, he concentrated on the exercise he needed after a morning at the desk. Suddenly he saw Kennington and his colleagues walking towards the deanery. The Magnificent Seven, he said to himself. They won't be defending any poor Mexican village. They only want to defend themselves. But soon they were out of sight and he dismissed such an irreverent idea from his mind. In the deanery the chapter meeting was about to begin. The cathedral clergy held bi-monthly afternoon meetings with the precentor and the chaplain, although these two were not strictly members of that administrative body. They had just spent a time of quiet in the Martyrs' Chapel and were now sitting in Kennington's study. He was generous in the use of his house for these occasions, though some of them preferred to meet in an office around a table with a proper business atmosphere. At least they didn't have to meet in the chapter house with its central pillar and cold stone seats. It was far too big anyway, and only used for larger gatherings and more formal occasions. Next page. Kennington called them to order. I would like to turn first to the ongoing question of precedence. As you know, Nodwood had been unable to give us any guidance and its resolution is really down to us. I think it's best to regard this as a matter of mutual respect. We should all prefer one another before ourselves. I propose therefore that the canon in residence each month should read the second lesson on each occasion, instead of me when I'm there. Except when I'm in residence, of course, and that the youngest among us, that is in age, should read the first lesson. We will thus all have a turn at reading, depending on who is present. But that's crazy, if I may say so, Dean, said Canon Bounds, glaring at him. It turns tradition on its head, and the chaplain would be reading every day unless he decided not to turn up. And we won't remember how old anyone is, said Canon Holloway. It'd be ageism by another name. The idea is utter foolish, said Oakwood pompously. This is a formal matter of recognition of dignity and respect. We are not just private individuals. We hold significant office in the Church of Christ. If we don't have an ordered, structured hierarchy, we won't know where we are. It comes down to the thing I've said all along. The dean needs a deputy, and I am he. The sub-dean is by definition senior to the canon in residence, except when he is the canon in residence, although of course when the dean is in residence, the sub-dean is junior to the canon in residence, as it were. That's all there is to be said about the matter. Complete BS, came Southgate's instant response. Bernard, I'd be grateful if you would restrain your animal passions when we're together. I agree with his point, though. Bound's eyes stared distractedly across the room as he spoke. This is to capitulate to the corruption inherent within us. You have forgotten that we are a spiritual body. I am very well aware of that, but we are all human too. This is an example of human fallibility that can be resolved by a little give and take, on a purely personal level. They continued in this vein for 3/4 of an hour before Kennington drew the discussion to an end. Hope you enjoyed that chapter of the Eden Plot, It's Hotting Up, by Paul G. Brett. Please sub me if you enjoyed these readings.